Hi, I'm Joshua Dunn and I'm a student at the University of Central Lancashire. This video is going to give you a brief insight to what international development is. International development is a wide concept concerning the level of development on an international scale. It is the basis for international classifications such as a developed country, developing country, or a least developed country. International aid is any form of needed assistance by one country to another. Aid is most commonly provided as official developmental assistance, which targets poverty reduction and the promotion of public welfare and economic development. I personally believe development is more beneficial than aid, because as Dr. Daniel Etiari said, people become dependent on aid. He said, invest in the systems, build infrastructure, identify key people and empower them so they can take care of their own problems, and it will have a lasting impact. In this part of the presentation, we're going to look at the Millennium Development Goals. What are MDGs? MDGs were established in the year 2000 at the UN Millennium Summit. These were 8 goals that were created with the aim to help free humanity from extreme poverty, hunger, illiteracy and disease. In this next part, we will look into them in more depth. The first goal was to eradicate extreme poverty and hunger. An example. In Brazil, 12.2 million people have been lifted out of poverty by the Bolsa Familia program because they have been able to reduce malnutrition, increase school enrollment and increase medical care. The second goal was to achieve universal primary education. An example. In Ethiopia, 3 million more children are in school now than there was in 2000. Goal number 3 was to promote gender equality and empower women. An example. From 1995 to 2010, the share of women in parliament on a global level has increased from 11% to 19%. Goal number 4 was to reduce child mortality rates. An example. In Tanzania, the infant mortality rate has dropped by 21% between 1998 and 2011. Goal number 5 was to improve maternal health. An example. In Peru, the maternal mortality rate fell by 44% between 2000 and 2009. Goal number 6 was to combat HIV, malaria and other diseases. An example. Nigeria have almost eradicated polio by reducing the number of cases by 98% between 2009 and 2010. Goal number 7 was to ensure environmental sustainability. An example. The World Health Organization says more than 2 billion people gained access to improved drinking water between 1990 and 2010. Goal number 8 was to create global partnerships for development. Example. They did this by getting different organisations such as Oxfam, UNICEF, Comic Relief, Children in Need and Sport Relief to work together to aid others. In this part of the presentation, I'm going to have a brief look at the history of aid and development. To do this, I'm going to have a brief look into the origins of aid and the Marshall Plan. Some of the first times that aid was used was when the British Empire used their funds to support education and health in their dependencies, and when aid was used as temporary relief to those made destitute after World War II. Before the 70s, the USSR used aid to gain resources, known as strategic aid. In the 70s, aid was pushed to help people, hence the name human aid. Winston Churchill said this was the most unsordid gesture ever when the Americans gave $13 billion to Western Europe 2 years after World War II, so that they wouldn't go into chaos because of Eastern Europe.
created using Powtoon.